Hello everybody and welcome to another Twilight Zone review. Today it is Season 2, Episode 26, Shadow Play, written by Charles Beaumont and starring Dennis Weaver as Adam Grant. And all I have to say about this episode is wow, this is a great Twilight Zone episode and certainly one of Charles Beaumont's best scripts. Okay, so we start in a courtroom with a man who is found guilty of murder. We start out very quickly, and he is supposed to be electrocuted for this crime. The man, which is our main character, Adam Grant, starts laughing, and then he starts yelling, "Not again, you can't do this to me again. I've been through this all before." He seems to be a bit crazy, and he says this is all a dream, and it's not real. But is it? Well, we'll find out. So we go to Grant in prison, and he's talking to a fellow prisoner, which will be important later on. And he's still very upset, which is understandable, and he just keeps insisting that this is all a dream. And then he actually explains the process that he's gone through before as proof that it's all a dream. He remembers everything very vividly, including his walk to the chair and everything that happens up until the moment that he's executed. So now we're starting to wonder if he could really be right about this. So then we cut very abruptly, maybe a bit too abruptly, admittedly, it's kind of a weird transition, to a house with a lawyer and his wife and another man who I believe it's brought up as his brother, and he's a newsman. And the newsman actually believes in the story while the lawyer doesn't. He said, if you talk to this guy, everything he says, I'm convinced. And the lawyer says he doesn't buy it, and that, Adam just can't accept it because, he doesn't want it to be real. So that's an interesting point. But the newsman says he still believes him. He knows everything in too much detail, and he pleads with the lawyer to see him, so the lawyer does go to see him. We go back to Grant in his cell, and those two talk, and he continues to insist that it's all a dream. And he also tells the lawyer, you have to save me because you'll also, be gone when the dream ends because all you are is part of my dream. You won't exist either, which is very interesting. I guess if it was a dream, he wouldn't exist within the dream, but wouldn't he still exist as a person? All very interesting things to think about. So, he tries to give reasons, does Grant, to convince the lawyer. He says things aren't right, everything's too convenient. Why would you visit me, a few hours before I'm supposed to be executed? He gives all these other varying reasons, and then he says, I bet you that that your wife, he predicts what she did cook, which we saw at the beginning, which was steak, and that it'll be something different now. And when the lawyer goes home, he finds out there is something different there. So maybe he's starting to believe a little bit now. We're not really sure. So then we go, back to the cell again with Grant, and the other man's named as Jiggs, the other prisoner, and Grant is still insisting that this is all a dream because he's saying, everything is too bad. He's saying, why was I tried and convicted in the same day? He says it doesn't work that way. Cases don't move that quick. He says, this isn't really what prison is like, but it's my impression of it because I've never really been there. Interesting point how if you've never really experienced something, you create your version of it in a dream. That's an interesting thought. So we go again back to the lawyer and the newsman, and they're discussing the case. They're still arguing about it. You can tell that the lawyer is kind of starting to think maybe there's something to this, but he doesn't totally believe it. Now, at the same time, they're preparing Grant for execution. It goes back and forth, the scenes. And the brother is really pleading. He says, at least get a stay of execution. We'll see what happens. Now, in the meantime, Grant is being prepared, and a father comes, and Grant says, I saw you when I was a child. I knew you were a child, but you passed away years ago. So this would make sense because in dreams, we often see people that aren't around anymore. So this makes sense. So we go back to the lawyer and the brother one last time. He does decide to call the governor to try and get a stay of execution, but we find out it looks like it was too late, as it looks like Grant was executed. Everything goes black. And we go back to the courtroom again, but This is the great twist. Everybody has different jobs. The man that was his fellow prisoner Jiggs is now the judge. All the supporting players are also in different roles in the courtroom than they were. So it appears the same thing is happening over and over again, but slight things have been altered, which is really interesting but not totally explained. Now, some things you could say about this episode is that it does feel a little stagey and disjointed at times. However, I feel that works in this episode because it's supposed to be portrayed as someone's dream, which might be a little bit all over the place. You know, everything in a dream doesn't always connect perfectly. So whether that was done on purpose or by accident, I think it works in this case. And also the staginess, you know, again in a dream, who knows, it would work in a dream. So, you know, and the pacing of this episode's really good. It's also very thought-provoking and rewatchable. There's a lot of little details you can notice on a second and even third watch. One of my slight issues with the episode is I wish they probably would have needed a longer episode, but I wish they could have better explained why, when he has this dream over and over again, why certain things change, you know, and the next time, like why is the prisoner now a judge, things like that. But like I said, they probably would have needed more time. But overall, this is an excellent, thought-provoking, and entertaining episode, which are the best kind of Twilight Zone episodes. And I give Shadow Play a 4.5 out of 5. So 4.5 out of 5 for Shadow Play. Definitely worth watching, a series classic for a reason. As always, thanks for your time.